Good morning, everybody. This is Van Hargis from Van Hargis Horsemanship, and welcome to the Ranch Road. Uh, I appreciate everybody for following me and riding with me from day to day, from the house over to the ranch, and on what we call the Ranch Road. It's been a pleasure so far bringing this series to you. We look forward to bringing you very many more. But today, if you don't mind, I'm not gonna drive over to the ranch just yet. I kind of want to sit here and take my time and ponder a bit as I talk to you about this particular message today that I want to share with you. This morning I was privileged enough to listen to a service from one of our brothers up in East Texas area, and for those of you who know, that's my original home up in East Texas, in fact Northeast Texas. I was born and raised up in that part of the country, and I've been down here in South Texas now for going on 9 years. But East Texas will always be home to me, and one of our East Texas brothers shared a service this morning. His name is Jason Taylor. He's the pastor for the Barnard Church up there in East Texas. He delivered a service today that really got my attention, and in fact, he mentioned in there 3 words. He mentioned joy, peace, and security. And the service about joy and peace and security was just tremendous. And he was talking about whenever that joy, peace, and security is threatened, then oftentimes we get angry. And then the way to recover is to seek out again joy, peace, and security. And anger can actually be a good thing. In fact, that's why I wanted to visit with you guys a little bit about today. I've noticed that whenever I watch people ride, they usually ride for the same exact reasons is what Brother Jason was talking about today. We ride horses because it gives us joy. We ride horses because for some of us it brings us a certain amount of peace to us. And then oftentimes while we are riding and we are seeking out that joy and that peace, it gives us even more joy and peace if we are secure in that. That if any of those things are threatened, it really causes us to react. And there comes the second part of what we're going to talk about today is reaction versus response. You see, reaction is something that we do without thought. Whenever something occurs and we tend to react quickly and suddenly, that is very much a reaction. That's very natural for us to do. And whenever we're riding a horse and that joy and that security or that peace is threatened, then oftentimes, rather than us giving it a response, we give it a reaction. Just like with a horse, you see, when a horse is secure and they're at peace, they're very harmonious. But yet, if something threatens that, for whatever reason, they react. And in their world, that reaction is very, very natural. When we're involved with our horses, their reaction triggers a reaction from us. And oftentimes, I've seen it numerous times, that our reaction is oftentimes fear, and fear will oftentimes convert to anger. So since we're going to be talking a little bit about that anger, I want you guys to understand what angry really means. See, to be angry, what it really means is, basically it sounds like we're spoiled kids. What triggers anger is the fact that we are not getting what we want, or we're getting what we don't want. And then our reaction to that is anger. We react. We get angry and we oftentimes react, and sometimes that reaction is not good. Now when we take that anger because we're not getting what we want from our horses, let's say, and we let that anger develop to the point where we react instead of respond, then we can actually cause a distrust, a threat, if you will, to the joy, the peace, and security of the horse. Therefore, what does he do? He reacts. That's not what we want. We don't want our horses, nor do we want those around us, nor do we want to react. We want to do exactly what the Bible tells us to do, which is to ponder and think. And rather than react, we want to learn to respond. Take in the data, take in the information, take in what happens and what happens around us in such a way, and train ourselves in such a way to respond rather than react. And we know that's possible. We know that's possible if you're disciplined enough to practice it. We know that's possible in almost every scenario. Consider, if you will, our first responders, whether it be policemen or firemen, emergency medical technicians. Those first responders, you see, oftentimes are trained in a most adverse type situation. They are trained to respond rather than react. In fact, if they reacted, they would do what all the rest of us would typically do, and that's run. Get away from whatever that is, and get away from that danger. Get away from the things that threaten our joy and our peace and our security. Get away from that. But instead, you see, they've been trained so many times that they respond rather than react. What a great lesson that is for all of us. We know that we are going to have certain things happen in our lives. There are going to be certain circumstances and occurrences happen in our lives. And quite frankly, we're foolish if we don't practice those things that we know that may happen. And believe me, I'm not telling you to fret and worry about it. In fact, if you knew me, you'd know darn good and well I tell people all the time, don't worry. There's really nothing to worry about. If you can do something about it, don't worry. If you can't do anything about it, don't worry. So why worry? Why fret? But at the same time, I'm also telling people, don't put your head in the sand. Things happen. When things happen, we need to be prepared for those things, and we can prepare ourselves for those things just by that mental practice of preparing ourselves for when things may happen. You see, there's a reason that I named my podcast many years ago. I say many years ago, it's not really that old, but when we named our podcast, we named it Ride Every Stride. And what does that mean? I mean, number one, it means be aware, be in the moment, be just like your horse, be in the moment. Think about what's happening right at this minute. The very second that you let your mind and your brain drift away to what's ahead, or you're too wrapped up into what happened, then you're no longer in the moment. If you're no longer in the moment and you're no longer practicing that discipline, then you're more subject to react when something happens as opposed to respond. Whenever we allow our horses to get distracted and look around and pay attention to everything but us and then but the environment or the task at hand, they're much more likely to react rather than respond. When they react, it might just threaten our joy, our peace, and our security, not trigger our anger, and all of a sudden we're not getting what we want, or we got a whole lot of what we didn't want, and we're angry about it, therefore we react. And I call it a grab ass contest when that happens, that all of a sudden the horse flinches, her reaction, and all of a sudden we react to that, then the horse reacts to our reaction, and it just keeps spiraling until eventually the horse blows up, and then we fall off, and then we say to ourselves, oh my goodness, I just knew that was going to happen. You see, we justify it. My argument is this, is to know that things are going to happen in this world, prepare for those things, live in the moment, take in that moment, ride every stride, and prepare yourselves. Train yourselves, if you will, to respond rather than react. Train your horses to respond rather than react. And soak up that joy, soak up that peace, and enjoy the security. I appreciate you guys sitting with me today instead of driving with me today over to the ranch, and thank you for joining me on the ranch road. And I'd be very interested in hearing your questions or comments regarding this post and this video today. Thanks again. Until next time, this is Van Hargis with Van Hargis Horsemanship.